When the sun's high in the sky, there's a time for every people to affirm their destiny. La 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 la. Even so, all of us together can create a better land. Leave the past, a new tomorrow waits for all who understand. La 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 la. Leave the past, a new tomorrow waits for all who understand.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Happy to be here. I'm Arnab and Padma. We are honored to be of service this morning. Thank you for everyone joining us online. I'll read from Rays of the One Light. We are the children of light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. It is common for people to perceive themselves according to their present realities. A person in ill health says, I am ill. Few say, I am well, it is my body that is suffering. People in a low income bracket say, I am poor. Only the unusual person will say, though outwardly I live in poverty, inwardly I am wealthy. Thus, when it comes to moral and spiritual development, people commonly identify themselves with their weaknesses and their mistakes. They consider it almost a sign of humility to say, I am a sinner. Though in effect what this means is that they identify themselves with their sinfulness, not with the soul's power to transcend all limitations in God. The great masters, including Jesus Christ, have always emphasized the divine potential of mankind. To encourage us, they address us as children of light, not of darkness. The Bible in the Gospel of St. John chapter 3 makes the point that our true home is not the mud of this earth, but the light of heaven. No man hath ascended up to heaven, it tells us, but him that came down from heaven. This passage continues, even so the Son of Man who is in heaven, emphasizing that Jesus, though he lived on earth, is perceived by the eye of wisdom as conscious, even in human form, of his true reality in heavenly spheres. The way to know God is to live in godly consciousness, and not to bewail our imperfection and our distance from God. Jesus said, Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And the Bhagavad Gita states, Seekers of union with the Lord find him dwelling in their own hearts, but those who lacking in wisdom seek him with impure motives cannot perceive him, however much they struggle to do so. If you want to know God, Paramahansa Yogananda said, live in the thought that you have him already. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
God sleeps and wakes. Oopsie. In a cloud of earth, God may be said to be sleeping. When he became metals, he found that he was cold and hard. So he became a flower, expressing tender beauty. Then God became a little bird and freed it from the earth's breast. Eventually, he became a human baby and also the mother to look after the baby. In mankind, God became aware of himself. In spiritually advanced men, he found himself again. That reading, that passage from the book was particularly touching to me, and I felt that it was appropriate for this topic, especially for one reason. We've all heard of creation. We've all heard, the many different concepts of creation. However, in this one, Master Yogananda emphasizes that God saw himself in us. And I think he's really trying to tell us something. He's really trying to get us to believe, to reflect on that particular aspect, that God is in us, that we come from him, and that he became aware. In other words, we are him and he is us in our little aspect, but we are him. So I would like to start with one thing. Actually, I'll read that in a moment. Why do the masters address us as children of God? And in the reading, it says so very clearly, not to perceive ourselves as sinners. The master said, there's no bigger sin than calling yourself a sinner. And why is that? Because we've never sinned? Because we don't do any wrong? Or perhaps because he wants us to see ourselves in our true potential. Yes, we did wrong. But I wake up every morning and would like to be with a clean slate, with every intention of past action redirected. I did wrong, but I am not that. I am not a sinner. I am my greatest potential. It doesn't mean that I am trying to, go aside from the consequences of my actions. I know they're there. But it does mean that it doesn't have to be who I am. To not identify with that. To not identify with my mistakes. To in fact identify with being a child of God instead of a sinner. How else can we move directionally towards God? How else can we move and believe that we are children of God in fact? If we start by getting stuck in self-identifying with something other than marching toward the light, marching toward being better. So they do address us as children of light. And maybe we should believe it. And the more we believe it as we go on, the more we are marching in that direction. The more it's directional and directional toward the light. So yeah, every morning I get up and I don't call myself a sinner, but someone who is redirecting again and again and again. And by the same token, I try to think of everyone not as what they did, but as everyone's highest potential, because we are all marching in the same direction toward the light. In one of her readings, Asha said, or readings or programs, she said something pretty interesting. There are two ways to make spiritual progress. You see the light in front of you and eagerly run toward it. Or you move toward the light to get away from the fire burning you from behind. I think it's pretty telling of what this life kind of does to us. For the first 20-something years of our life, we are born. Our father, mother are right there. They're taking care of us. Our siblings, aunts, uncles, extended family. This is our truth. This is what we learned right off the bat. We are not taught that we are in fact children of light and that these are stand-in actors. And not the best ones always. But yeah, very good. Everyone does their best. But yes, this is not what we are taught. This is what is in our minds. You're gonna have a career. You're gonna get married. You're gonna have kids. This is what is told to us. And if you do this, this, and this, you will live a really good life. And yes, there are basically two paths. The path of the rebels, or those of us, whoever, that goes more towards the senses, the rebels, the people that just don't care about what they're told. They just want to go in the other direction. And yes, 20, 30, 40 years later, there are the two byproducts, right? The guy that's just slammed down on the floor, we just went at it, and went at it, and went at it, and all of a sudden we're just spent. And we're like, oh God, help me. And then there is the other ones too. They did everything by the book. They went to church. They prayed. They did everything they could. They had a good family. They raised their kids. They had the white picket fence. Everything, the minivan, you name it. And they're also kind of in the same spot, only a little higher. Just like Master said, anguishing monotony, from pain or only from boredom, or from not seeing the true result, the true happiness, from not feeling it, from not perceiving it. We're still in the same spot. Some better, some worse, but we're still going in the same spot. What is missing? What to do here? When I first joined the Sangha, quite a few years ago, I was invited to join the Sangha, and I've told this story probably a few times. Dharma Devi invited me to serve in some capacity, and I said yes. I don't think I know how to say no, so I don't know how good that is, but I did say yes. But I did also say a disclaimer. I said, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it, nor do I even know how to do any of what you're doing. But I said yes, and gosh, I came screeching at every meeting. I was always late or almost late, and just hurrying, rushing, everything. I went by that, like that, for about a year, until finally, about a year later, I just sat down with myself and I said, well, something has to change. I'm kind of like not really doing it. I'm not really there. I'm doing a little bit of a disservice to what I'm doing, and I'm not all the way in. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to schedule. I'm going to schedule my service. I'm going to schedule what I am doing with God, with my spiritual family, just as work. I had that opportunity. The way I live and have a certain freedom that I never realized, mind you. I thought I was busy the whole day. But I did have that opportunity, I just couldn't see it. Until I made the conscious decision, I said, I will make the time because I want to serve. Because whatever I'm doing here is actually good for me. And little by little, I made the decision, and I allocated that time, whatever that was, 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, and then a Thursday, whatever that was. I put the time there, and I put it more and more with calmness, not getting there completely rushed, but knowing what I was going to do. And all of a sudden, everything changed. All of a sudden, I believe it or not, in my prayer, what I said to Divine Mother, I said, yes, I'll sacrifice my time. I will give you some of my time. I'm very busy, but I'll make time for you. And yes, I did. And somewhere in the back of my head, there were citizens that were thinking exactly that. They were like, yes, I'll give you some. But please don't ask for much more. In any event, all of a sudden, I had the best year in business that I ever had, business-wise. That citizen got everything he wanted and more. But not by catering to it, but the opposite. And it was inadvertent. Honestly, I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't expect any reward, but I was given that. And it was almost like, oh yeah, here you go. Maybe you can switch your perspective. Maybe you can start thinking that you are in fact a child of God. You're in fact my child, and I can take care of you. And it was just a wonderful realization to little by little be more, be able to serve, be more. The other day when Judson and Davy were here, they were saying there are all these changes happening, here, there, in all the centers, and Palma and Arnab stepping in, and they said, they're wonderful souls. But they also said something else. Said, you had all that time with these great souls, referring to Ananda Devi. And that was just such a wonderful thing to say. So many times we don't realize the gifts that we are being given just by the mere company of these wonderful souls, these saintly souls, that are feeding us and nurturing us in so many ways that we don't realize. So yes, the gift is there. The gift is there for us to be deeper in that path. It is our chance to miss or to seize. In any event, at some point, we all find, through boredom, through getting slammed on the floor, we all find ourselves at the beginning of our spiritual path. God knows I started pretty late, 12, 11 years ago. Getting there, getting pretty old. but it didn't matter to me. I was just following what I was feeling. And for me, it was perfect and authentic, whatever I did from the very beginning. From the get-go, I followed life, even though I never resonated with it. At the end, I'm fortunate to be here, and to me, it's never too late. I am here. Now, I am here, I was serving, and I was given the privilege to serve, and to serve alongside great souls, many of them. And still I didn't appreciate it because I couldn't see it. We can't see what we are being given. We can't see the opportunity that we are being given. About 4 years ago, I remodeled the top apartment at the ashram. And when the last people in there moved out, I was like, you know what, my dad's always just had his room. He's up on the 3rd floor. Maybe I'll just prepare this apartment for him. I'll furnish it. And I was so inspired about it. I was just like, yeah, my dad, it'll be really cool. And I finished it, and I actually had told him, I was like, yeah, hey, Dad, I'm gonna fix that for you so you can move there. You'll be more comfortable. We can go out there and cook a meal or two for you. I'll burn some beans for you and so on, because I'm not a good cook. And anyways, I finished it, and then he's like, I don't think I'm gonna move. And I'm like, what? I just did all this work for you. And he says, no, I think you should move. At the time, the kids were coming, the other kids were coming, and he says, no, you have a lot of kids. You need your place. I was like, come on. And he said, at that point, he said something to me that really got me. And it was really beautiful, and actually I shut up with that. He said, I really enjoy the energy there. I never expected him to say something like that. The house was full. And yes, there were conflicts, and the tombola that Jyotish describes, and we're all rubbing our edges against each other. Yes, that never was it. Not there. It was always there. But nonetheless, he felt the energy that was being generated with all these yogis, aspiring saints that were there. And he loved the energy. He said that straight out. At that point, I was just like, okay, I'm done. He likes the energy there. I can't fight that. That was it. But all that to say that in some way, he sees the opportunity, and he has taken it in. More so than I did when I started. He took it in, and he felt it, and he has enjoyed it. And I'm so appreciative of that. I'm so appreciative of him saying that, because it reminds me of what I have right there. There's a gift that's being given to me. It's up to me to take it or simply close my eyes. The gift is there. So the point is, we're back. We're on the spiritual path. And here we are, meditating. First time I had to meditate 3 hours. I thought the person suggesting it was crazy. Come on a Friday, really? It's my day out. I want to go to dinner. I want to go somewhere. But, I've pretty much, for the most part, never missed them. I love it. I realized that I loved it because one day I meditated. And the next morning, I was taking a shower. And I felt that feeling of peace or joy just kind of floating up inside of me. At the time, I didn't call it my spine, my astral spine. I just felt that feeling, that beautiful floaty feeling. And I was like, wow, I just had a short meditation. Why am I feeling like this? In the shower the next morning. And then it dawned on me. I was like, oh, wow, yes. It's carrying on from the 3-hour meditation. And then it also, continuing on the same thread, I was like, what if I keep going? What if I just keep meditating and stay magnetized like that? That's what they're talking about. That continuous joy. That is the reason for the constant meditation. To keep magnetized, to keep attracting the good energy, to keep flowing upwards, towards God. That was the point. Well, at least that's the point that I see. And then I'm sure there will be more layers and more layers and more layers that I will see as I go along. In the meantime, this is where I'm at. But it's just beautiful that, to be seeing these things, to be perceiving the benefits, to be perceiving the gifts, the blessings that we constantly receive. And yet again, so here we are. We may be on the path, yes? And so I am, and so I was even then. But did I for 1 second say, oh, I'm a child of God. I'm going to be on the path, and I will realize that I am a child of God. That didn't even occur to me. At some point, right around the same time, I took a vow at the village. And the ceremony was performed by Judson Devi with Narayana and Dharma Devi there. It was short and sweet and beautiful. And we were walking out. Devi's the last one behind, I'm the last one, and Devi's right in front of me, and everyone else is walking out of the EL temple. And as we're walking out, Devi turns towards me and says, you're a child of God, aren't you? But really beautiful and sweet. And I was like, oh, like a deer in the headlights. And right away, she didn't wait for my answer. She said, yes, you are. Was she asking me? Was she telling me? Or was she simply giving me something to hang on? To hang on during that vow that was going to be difficult. And she did. She gave me something really beautiful. She informed me of something that I had never actually thought of. Something I had never taken in to the fullest extent of my comprehension. Yet again, I'm going to my layer. This is where I'm at. I'm not out there, but I'm here. To the fullest extent of where I can comprehend. She called me a child of God. And I started thinking about that. And I started saying, oh my God, what a thing. I see it written, and I read right through it so many times, in so many different lectures, and so many things that I hear it. Yet I never had to actually consciously go inside and ask myself so that I could answer to someone who's asking me. She asked me so that I could go inside and think, am I a child of God? Am I really a child of God? At some point, somewhere around the time, or maybe, at some point, someone was doing a ceremony. I was in some difficulty, and someone was in India, was performing a puja for me to get, for blessings and get better. A puja is a beautiful fire ceremony with lots of japa and offerings. And it's just and many people pray for you. It's just really wonderful. And at that time, I was, the acharya that did that, I kept asking him, through my friend, I kept asking him, well, what's the donation going to be? Because I knew there was a donation. And he wouldn't tell me. And the third time that I asked, he turned around and said it, and I felt his energy when he was telling my friend to translate to me. He said, tell him Divine Mother doesn't want his money. Tell him she wants him. It was just so beautiful. But that wasn't it. A second later, he started asking a couple of questions. Does he still do this? Does he still eat meat? Does he do this? And then he turned around and said, tell him not to do it anymore. Divine Mother doesn't want him to do it anymore. And then something completely different hit me. It's like, okay, you're giving me the gift, but yet you're also telling me what you want of me. That was really beautiful. Because, you know what? It's so easy to ask. And so easy to sit there and ask, okay, they're doing a puja for me. That's great. I'll meditate during the time they're doing it. I'll pray too. But am I willing to do the work? Am I willing to do the work to please Divine Mother? Am I willing to do the work to feel like a child of God? Or am I just a devotee who's not willing to go all the way? All the way. It really hit me. Divine Mother wants something of me. What does she want of me? Your Master said it very clearly. He said, to allow God a secondary place in life was to me inconceivable. Though He is the sole owner of the cosmos, showering us with gifts, with life to life. One thing yet remains which He does not own, and which each human heart is empowered to withhold or bestow: man's love. Divine Mother, she wants our love. And how is that shown? In our purity, as much as in our intention. Just like the reading says, they come with impure motives. Yes, we come with impure motives because we are asking but not willing to give. We come with impure motives because the place to look at it from, or perspective, can be a little bit tainted. You know, I can ask Divine Mother for money if it's for her own work. But then if I'm asking for money for a different reason, for an egotistical reason, then it's an impure motive. It's the same thing, and it's the same asking. It's only a little bit of a different perspective that we shift. And if we learn to live in the perspective of the divine, in the perspective of God, change the perspective every single time, every single day, then we little by little go more towards the light in every aspect, in every morning. I was sitting there right now, and I was looking at the picture of Master, and I knew that all I want is for the ability, all I pray is for the ability to put myself out of the way and to allow divine flow to flow right through me. And I was just praying that to Master, right there when I was sitting there. And then as I'm praying that, I'm like, okay, great. And do you do that all day long? In everything that you do? You know, do I get out of my house and say, God, flow through me? If someone is making me mad over there, the way they're talking to me or whatever, do I say, God, flow through me? You know, whatever it is that I'm going to do, you know, there are so many things that I do during the day. When I'm feeling, you know, like when I'm feeling egotistical, when I don't want to give, when so many things, do I ask God to flow through me? And that is a question that I think is worth asking, because, you know, when we say we are children of God, it's a commitment. It's a commitment to work, to walk toward that light, rather than to say, yes, I'm a child of God. Or really, are you? Are we? Do we wish to make the effort to walk toward that light ever more? I wanted to share something really beautiful that Swami Ananda said in one of his talks. And that was, it's here somewhere. He said, the spiritual path is the process of becoming aware that we're children of the light. It's so beautiful. That's exactly what the spiritual path is. That's what we are doing here. More and more and more, we are becoming aware. Every single day, every single action, with every meditation, but also with every action. Master put it really beautifully. Beautiful action combined with meditation is the sure way to conquer that little self. So it's not just meditation. It's not just praying. It's everything that we do. Ceasing every single action to be in that present, to be that child. What does Divine Mother want of us? You know, the beautiful chant that Gordon was chanting in the pre-chanting. O devotee, I can give thee salvation, but not my love and devotion. For if I give those away, I give myself away. I don't sing very well, but I tried. I was going to go more, but I think that's enough. I never understood it. I had the worst trouble understanding that. It's like, why can't you give yourself? But it's not that. She's saying, I can't give you devotion. I can't give you love. You must provide that. That is the part of the recipe that is ours. I couldn't understand it. I mean, I was just thinking it in a 2 times 2 equals 4 times 2 equals 8, whatever. Very rational, very intellectual. But as I go more into the heart, I'm able to understand these subtleties. And it's really beautiful to think of that. She's saying, I will give you everything. I will give you salvation, but not my love and devotion. That's your part. You bring that to the equation. And then we can be complete. That is the part that is missing. So what can we do? What can we do to become children of God every day? I mean, there are so many things. Like Master said, beautiful action combined with meditation. Yes, serve a little more. Meditate a little more. Be a little less moody. Be more tolerant. Be ultimately a little more loving every day. How about humble versus proud? Proud. Just again and again and again, so many ways in which we can get closer to God every day. So many different ways. Ultimately, I would say that for me to consider myself a child of God means that I consider everyone my family. Everyone my brother and sister. Everyone's kid, my kid. At least in the love. Because if I am a child of God, everyone is my family. And I can love everyone. And I want to strive to that. To be a child of God. I'd like to close with Master's prayer demand from his book of Whispers from Eternity. It's a very short one. Demand to love God as all saints have loved him. O Heavenly Father, fill my heart daily with the prayers and love of some saint who found thee in ages bygone. Fill my heart with the love of all saints who have ever loved and found thee. And I'd like to just make a closing remark. So many saints and saintly people that we have the privilege to be around them. What do they have in common? They all have one truth in themselves that at least I can see. Obviously, yes, they're kind and loving, but there's one more thing. They truly believe, it's a truth in them, that they are children of God. Om Guru.
Every morning when I greet the sun, when I move forth through crowded ways, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. When I laugh, oh, and when I cry with pain, when my best friends misunderstand, in my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of thee. no defeat. In my heart, Lord, ever so silently, I will always think of Thee. In my heart,